Remember Star Wars Battlefront 2015? The FPS Star Wars game that came out in, when was it? Oh yeah, 2015. Why am I even describing it to you like you don't already know what the game is? That's why you clicked on the video. Anyways, it was the first Battlefront in over a decade. The first one since the OG Star Wars Battlefront 2. And seeing how that game ended up, this one had pretty big shoes to fill. Now, if the rest of the players are like me, then they grew up playing the classic OG Battlefront 2 and have been waiting 10 years for a new Battlefront. So when we heard that Battlefront 2015 was coming out after 10 years of nothing, we were pretty hyped. We were starving on the street, wandering around, trying to find anything to end our hunger. But all we could find was disappointment, one thing after another, until finally, after an eternity of starvation, our famine was finally over. Battlefront looked amazing, and the graphics were insane. It looked like you were actually in the movies. But enough hype. What was the actual game like? The game released with a few different maps, all from 4 different locations. And the cool thing is that they were all extremely different. There was the forest planet of Endor, desert planet of Tatooine, the snow planet of Hoth, and then the lava type of Sullust. Like, that one doesn't really fit, but whatever. Anyways, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't remember seeing that last map in the movies at all. Like, Hoth, Endor, yeah, sure, all of them are in the movies. Like, they're pretty prominent, but like, Sullust? I don't remember that one. That one seems kind of like an imposter. But the best map by far was the Endor map. That one was so fun to play on. And honestly, a big part of that was because it had the most cover. And you may think, well, why does that even matter? Like, I get that's kind of important in a game, but like, who really cares that much about cover? Well, if you're saying that, then that just tells me that you don't remember playing Walker Assault, because I can't tell you how many times I was running across the map in some desolate wasteland on Hoth or Tatooine with like only a small fucking pebble as the only cover around me, and I'd get obliterated by the AT-AT or some bastard in a TIE fighter. That's why having cover is important. That's why I love those big, succulent trees in Endor. And to play on these maps, the game released with 9 different modes. Yeah, there were some cool modes in there, but not gonna lie, most of them were kind of buns. For like most of my time, I only played a few of them. Like, for example, there was a flying mode called Fighter Squadron. Let me just say, I fucking hate flying in this game. I would rather eat a bowl of nails than fly in this game. Without milk. Yeah, that's right. Some of the smaller modes I played with my friends sometimes were Hero Hunt and Heroes vs. Villains. Let's start with Heroes vs. Villains. It's pretty much what it sounds like. 3v3 with heroes on one side and villains on the other. And anybody else that wasn't lucky enough to get a hero or a villain were pretty much just infantry. And that's like really unfair thinking back on it. Like, it feels like playing an infantry with all these fucking heroes and villains fighting as infantry just does not seem fair. I think a good comparison would be like an ant trying to kill a god. I mean, when you're an infantry in this mode, it feels like you're just like a little brother. Like, you can shoot at them and stuff, but they're not gonna really take you seriously until you actually annoy them a little bit. And then, when they get annoyed, they'll just like kick you into the sun with one hit. And then you got Hero Hunt. And with Hero Hunt, it's pretty much just king the hill. Whoever gets the last shot on the hero gets to be the next one. Yeah, that definitely didn't cause any rage. Bitch! But out of all the smaller modes, I think Cargo is probably my favorite. Because when you play with all your friends, it's like the only mode where you can feel like you can accomplish an objective as a team with your friends. Because, yeah, the bigger modes like Walker Assault and Supremacy have an objective, but when you're playing on a team of 40, it's kind of hard to feel like anything you do actually has an impact on the team. Whereas when you're in a smaller team, you can tell a lot more how you're contributing to the team. Okay, we talked about all the small fry modes. Now it's time to talk about the big kahuna, Supremacy and Walker Assault. Now, I probably played these modes for like 90% of my time playing Battlefront, just to give you a little reference on like how much I played each mode. And Supremacy is pretty much just conquest from Battlefield, for those of you who are cultured. Now, for the uncultured swines who don't play Battlefield, the main objective is that there are a bunch of control points that you have to capture and hold, and the team, whoever has the most of them by the end of the game, wins. Now, Walker Assault is a little bit different, because I'm pretty sure this mode is like a Star Wars Battlefront exclusive. I don't think it's in any other game. But in this mode, there's an AT-AT, and depending on what team you're on, you have to defend or attack uplinks to help get more Y-Wings to help take the AT-AT down before it reaches the end of the map. Not gonna lie though, I feel like most people, their main objective in this game is just to kill people, and if they just so happen to be near the uplink, then they'll be like, fine, whatever, I'll activate it if I have to.
No, I don't really feel like it. I really don't need it. I 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 need it!
All right, let's talk about weapons. I feel like the weapons really show you how casual this game was, because most guns in this game were absolute smelly garbage. They were unusable. I think like 99% of the people used one of the following guns: the EE3, the E11, the A280C, the DH17, or the SC14C. Everything else was just not really worth using. Same with the star cards, and the star cards are pretty much just other abilities you can use, okay? There were some unique choices, though, that you could have. I feel like half of them were just, like, troll weapons. They weren't really that useful, but, like, they're, like, pretty funny to troll people with. Like, they had a shock grenade where you could throw it at the ground and, like, make people be stunned and, like, not be able to move for 5 seconds. That can really give you some funny situations, but, like, how, like, actually useful is that? I think most people just used, like, the same 4 items. You got the jetpack, which is, like, a must, unless you're just a fucking masochist and you like to walk everywhere. Then you got the bowcaster and the scattergun, which were OP as fuck. Especially on launch, the bowcaster was broken. And honestly, these 2 weapons, in terms of like killing, pretty much using anything else is like you're trying to challenge yourself to have a disadvantage and still win. Like, they're that bad. Like, seriously, look at the cycler rifle and the scattergun. Both of them can shoot through shields. The scattergun is a one-shot. You have to be close, but it's a one-shot, and you get 2 of them. Whereas the cycler rifle is infinitely harder to hit. And no matter where you hit them, unless you get a headshot, it's not a kill. You can't hit them in the body, nothing. You can be literally in their shirt and shooting them, and if you don't get a headshot, it's just nothing. And you know the fucking really funny part about that? When you get a body shot, it does 99 damage. I feel like that's just like the biggest FU from the devs about the guns in this game. To round off our list of OP broken abilities in this game, you got the back to bomb and explosive shot. Explosive shot, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And back to bomb is pretty much think of a grenade that you throw at your feet and it gives you full health. Yeah, I think we can all see how broken that was. I don't know if you guys did this with your friends too, but with our friend group, we would try to not use like the OP broken weapons, and we would have to like keep each other accountable like some AA group to not get like seduced by the delicious temptations of the OP weapons. Like, we've all been there. We're having a shit game. Our kitty's hanging in the balance. And we just think maybe we could finish the game using a little explosive shot, maybe a little scattergun here and there. Not too much, but, you know, a few kills just to round out the KD a little bit. Nobody will notice. But then, of course, all it takes really is one friend to see you using that cheap weapon, and you get roasted into oblivion. I think the real reason why we cared so much about this is because to us, in our friend group, the KD in that game was like a social hierarchy. It was literally like the Indian caste hierarchy. Like, if you have above a 2 KD, yeah, it's pretty good. You're getting some decent respect. But then you got like the sub 1 KDers over there. They're pretty much untouchables. Honestly, they'd be lucky to be even treated like a human being. Now, so far, I've mainly talked about what the game was like on release. But what about the DLC? Well, there were 4 DLCs that came out. With each new DLC, we'd get 1 new hero, 1 new villain, some new items, a new game mode, and then some new maps based on one specific area. So, for example, 1 DLC would be like Bespin. And I think the DLCs were definitely like a mixed bag. Some were good, some were bad. But the one that really sticks out to me, the one that I hated with a passion, was the Death Star DLC. That motherfucker, oh my god. That was actually the time when I stopped playing the game. It was the final straw for me, and I gave up playing after that. And you know why? I'll tell you. Do you remember when I said I didn't like flying modes? Well, this DLC came out with only 3 modes. That's it, only 3. And 2 of them were flying. You know the one that was not flying? It was fucking Team Deathmatch, or Blast, whatever they called it. It wasn't even a fun or unique new game mode. Oh my fucking god. And I know you may think that's not a big deal, but think, I play this game like every day, and I look forward to the DLCs a lot, because they come out every few months, and I paid for it. So when it comes out, and there's 3 modes, and 2 of them are flying, holy fuck, I was fuming. Oh my god. Who the hell thought that was a good idea to do that? I remember I was so mad that in my English class, we had to write an essay on some product or something that we'd have to improve upon, and how we'd improve it. And I swear to god, I'm not kidding, I wrote like a 5-page essay on what was wrong with this shit and this godforsaken DLC. Also, the heroes they chose to add for these DLCs were pretty questionable. Because they wanted to stick with only OT characters, I think you can imagine that after a while, they're gonna start getting a little thin with important characters to add. So of course, after a while, they had to just start picking any fucking character that got screen time, instead of, you know, expanding on other heroes, the prequels or like the sequels. Nobody wants the sequels, never mind. Just the prequels. Like, I get wanting to stick with just one era, but when you're down to add a 9 nub instead of somebody like Anakin or Obi-Wan, like, come on, what are you even doing at that point? I'm decently knowledgeable about Star Wars, and I watch them all the time from as a kid until now. Now, granted, I'm more of a prequel fan, but still, I like the OT too, and I barely knew who some of these motherfuckers were. Like, when I first saw Dengar, I legitimately thought it was some random fucking dude they made up who was wrapped in toilet paper. I had no idea who the hell that was. But yeah, I think overall, the DLCs added some much needed content because the original game was pretty bare bones. Like, it was pretty thin on content. I mean, it's still pretty annoying that you have to pay like the price of 2 games just to get 1 full game, but it is what it is, I guess. Whatever. Overall, even with all of its flaws, Battlefront is a game that I have a ton of nostalgia for because it was my first FPS game. I mean, I played sports games before that, but like, those don't really count. So it was like really the game that made me fall in love with gaming. And honestly, even though I played much better games since then, I can't really think of a game that I had more fun playing than Battlefront. Like, at the time, it felt magical. And I think we all have a lot of nostalgia for the game that made us fall in love with gaming. Like that first game that made us get absolutely addicted to it. I remember taking it so seriously at the time because I didn't have any frame of reference for like what a competitive game was. I actually thought it was like a competitive game. But now looking back, obviously it's so silly. Because at the time I would rage at the balancing and all the OP weapons they had in the game. But it's so obvious now that like it was just a casual game and the devs just didn't really care that much. But even still, with all the memories of playing this game, like when I first got the game during Christmas break, I literally stayed up all night because after playing it, all I wanted to do was play the game. I literally could not sleep because I wanted to play the game so bad. I tried all night to fall asleep, but I couldn't. Eventually, I just gave up when I started hearing birds chirping outside my window. I think anybody who stays up late knows the telltale signs that you're fucked are when you start hearing birds chirping outside your window or when you start hearing your parents getting ready for work downstairs. I remember even after the break was over, when we had to go back to school, all I could think about was the game during school. That's it. I would even make like a plan to finish all of my homework during school so that once I got home, it was Battlefront time, baby. And every year during high school, I ran track too. And this year was like the only time, but I was literally so bad that like halfway through the season, I got benched pretty much because of how bad I was. Because all I wanted to do was play Battlefront. I mean, are you crazy? I'm not going for a run when I can stay home and play Battlefront. Really though, thinking about this game, it just reminds me how fun gaming can be, especially with your friends. This was like the game that actually formed my friend group in high school. And when I think about high school, these are like the main memories that I can think about. Was like all of us just waiting to get home on those glorious 3-day weekends. So we had one extra night to play Battlefront until 3 in the morning, or staying up super late on a school night playing private matches against each other. Like, this game gave me so many good memories. And even though it wasn't perfect by any shot, Battlefront will always be a special game to me.